All right. I hope that it has filled the hearts of everyone in this room with courage and hope
and fire.
And fire. And I hope at least some people watching this stream are now quivering in fear. First, I want to thank you. I last saw you when you weren't nearly as fiery, and you are now in full bloom, and this is really amazing, and that was a great opening. And also Ethan for framing it. Ethan thanked everyone except himself, and Ethan was chairing the selection process. And I won't go into detail because we don't have a lot of time, but if you go on the website, you will see the selection committee. It's an amazingly, interestingly diverse set of people. Jerry Holton, who's sitting here in front, he's probably the most inspirational 96-year-old I know, maybe one of the few that I know. And he was, as we were finishing the selection process, we were walking outside. First of all, during the selection process, he remembers he grew up in Nazi Austria and grew up in Nazi Germany after he fled Austria. And he says this is very reminiscent of those days, and disobedience is very important. So it's really nice having that context. But he said as we were leaving, that Ethan guy, he's good at summarizing and taking people's thoughts and putting them together. He reminds me of Robert Oppenheimer. Robert was good at that too. And only Jerry could lay a compliment like that on Ethan. And so I'm very proud of Ethan for being at that level. And so I don't really need to describe the prize and those things, but I did want to say a couple things. First of all, you have two privileged dudes, I'm not white, but dudes on stage. One is an academic administrator, and one is a billionaire. And I recently read my friend Anand Giridhara's book, Winners Take All. I don't know if you've read it. It's a really interesting book. And the book basically focuses on all of these billionaires and people with privilege doing good. And that, in fact, that's not going to fix anything because you just have a bunch of people reinforcing the system that made them powerful, and they're never going to make the changes that you need in order to actually fuck the patriarchy. But the problem with the book, because I love Anand, and I'm actually having him come to the Media Lab, and we're going to have a discussion about this. I love the book because it frames the problem very well, but it doesn't give you a solution. He doesn't really have a, what do we do next? And I also don't agree with the Steve Bannons of the world who have the notion that we just need to burn the whole thing down. Because we know from Arab Spring, you can throw the thing over, but you have to have something that actually runs later, otherwise it just washes back. And I also don't agree that billionaires just will reinforce their own thing. Because, and also the other thing is that institutions, the old institutions that Ethan had, they're old because they are able to, in their sort of fumbly way, adapt. And Ethan gave some examples of how our laws change in America because we're able to take the disobedience, that uncomfortable change, and somehow change these old systems. And I think the Media Lab is kind of a thorn in the side or a troublemaker inside the Institute. I see Maria Zuber, who's also, she's our Vice President of Research, and she's always the one that feels a little bit uncomfortable with these meetings, and she's also on our selection committee. I always feel a little bit uncomfortable when our students, Ethan starts to poke me, and when the students poke Ethan, and there is this kind of interesting nested system of disobedience and discomfort that somehow is able to steer well-designed institutions in the right direction. And disobedience, whether we're talking about science, or we're talking about laws, or we're talking about social change, it's that disobedience of questioning authority and thinking for yourself that allows these large systems to evolve. So I think it's important, and this is where I would push back on Anand, is that what those people like us in privilege must do is to make sure that the mechanisms of change that turns disobedience into change and turns that change into the slow-moving direction of these institutions, that's our job. So anyway, on that note, I mean, I think it's it was Margarita Mora from Neoterra has this wonderful phrase: "What kind of ancestor do you want to be?" And that's kind of how I think about these days. So I'm a privileged person. I'm in a position of power, but I want to say, what are my grandchildren going to think about the things that I'm doing now? And And I may not be the fiery person who does the change, but how can I empower the next generation to do that? So I think that's kind of the role of those of us who are in positions of privilege. And with that, I wanted to sort of hand it over to the sponsor of this Disobedience and ask Reed to talk a little bit about why he supports this and other things.
So when you get to these really important social problems, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So what you always have to do is you have to ask yourself, what can I do to help? And how do I get involved? And humanity is an aspirational goal. It's a work in progress. And sometimes the greatest steps towards realizing that aspirational goal, that those set of human beings, that human society that we want to become, is through essentially disobedience, through challenging power structures, patriarchy, things that essentially are denying humanity, and it's that risk and that resistance, that ownership of that fire that is actually in fact so important. And so, one of the things that makes this a critical thing to do is to try to shine some light, to show the examples that there are people with that fire who are taking that risk to try to help us become who we should become. Now, that's why it's very easy to support and be a delighted backdrop to the selection committee, to the awardees who are, heroes in our society, people who are taking personal risk to get to where we should want to be. And that's really all I have to say on that. I will say a little bit about the award orbs that we'll be handing out. They were created by Neri Oxman and her group. They are kind of this biologically extracted and synthesized melanin, because melanin is a substance from all kingdoms of life. And the 5 subtle hues that go into it are part of the unity and diversity of life. And we thought that was very appropriate. And both Neri and her whole group are these amazing artists and creators, bringing both art and technology together to create these just works of art and beauty. And we thought that was an appropriate additional gesture of honor to our awardees who are, treasures of humanity. So.
And so this is where it starts to look like the Academy Awards. First I want to invite up the winners of the $250,000 Disobedience Award. The second largest cash prize at MIT, I would say, after the Lemelson Award for Innovation. So Tarana Burke and Sherry Marts and Beth Ann McLaughlin, please come up. Thank you. Congratulations, thank you.
This is the best.
Move down. Are more people coming? I'm going to bring my phone up here.
Actually, I think it's just this one, right? I think we're just going to do, yeah. So we actually have one printed. We're going to send, because we didn't know that we were going to have 3, but we will send two more.
Yes.
No, we're going to make 3.
We're going to make 3, but I will read this now. With this award, we are recognizing their leadership and dedication in amplifying the voices of survivors of sexual violence and harassment, fomenting positive change towards gender equality, and demonstrating defiance in the face of oppression and apathy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can you bring the Thank you very much. So you can take it on behalf of the group, and we will send 2 more along.
Yes.
Thank you.
No,
So maybe if you want to have a few comments.
Sure. This is like a giant marble. A beautiful giant marble. First, thank you both. I mean, I'm just happy to be here. I'm coming off of a TED Talk this week that went live this morning, and so I was listening to Mona, there you are, and feeling revved up because one of the things that I said in my talk is that I'm really tired, and I feel this has been a long year, but it's been a long decade, and for those before me, it's been a long fight, and there's things that happen, the ebb and flow of doing this work. There are things that happen that wear you out, and then there are things that give you so much energy to keep going. And this is one of those things, like not just getting the award, but having people, being amongst like-minded folk, knowing that you're not alone. This is a weird reality, being in this place, and I couldn't. I mean, it is. It's a weird. This is a weird. The people know my name, and people. It's just a weird reality. But I wouldn't trade it for the ways that I've been able to talk about sexual violence. I mean, the reason why nobody knew my name a year ago is because nobody really cared to talk about sexual violence in public spaces. I couldn't get, $83, no less $83,000. So, I'm just grateful for that part, and I'm grateful for people who are open and willing to hear this and willing to do this work, right? I've always said that I don't have ownership of Me Too. It is really a gift that was given to me to give to the world, and my life has been in service, and so this is a continuation of that service, and seeing the expansion of it just makes my heart expand too. So I'm just really glad to share this with both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I couldn't pick better people to be on the stage with. And even the patriarchy. Thank you, patriarchy.
That's so funny. Sorry.
This is mind-numbing and genius and kind. And people aren't kind to us.
Not at all.
Preach. And I want to share a little bit of that kindness with some folks real quick. There are three really brave folks. Well, there's a lot of really brave folks. Let's be honest, Britt. There's three really brave folks I want to point out who are students from Dartmouth who, that's how I first spent your money when I got it, was bringing them down. Can you guys stand up? There's, Anne-Marie and Sasha and Rosa. And no, these people deserve a standing fucking thank you, Mona, ovation. They stood up to decades of horrific abuse that was talked about by professors, and we were thinking the whisper net was working, and it wasn't. And these people are fucking heroes, and God love them for preaching their truth. Thank you, ladies, so much. Know them, thank them.
I knew you were going to do this to me. It's an incredible honor to be on this stage with these two women. And there's somebody in the audience I want to shout out to, and that's Kate Clancy, who is a force of nature in trying to change academia and the way we handle this kind of misbehavior, this kind of abuse, this kind of absolute trashing of the humanity of the women who all they want to do is science. All they want to do is fix the problems and change the world. And there are a lot of us, not just Beth Ann, not just Tanara, not just me, there are a lot of us out there who carry this fire and who are going to make this change happen as fast as we possibly can.
So, thank you again, and we will see you back on here for a longer.
Everyone's sitting down.
Oh, that's right. We're
Yes,
gonna. Okay, I'm sorry.
we have to sit
I'm not very good at following instructions.
Yes.
All right. So you're
Yes. And so now we'd like to call Katie Endicott to the stage, please. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We are recognizing her actions in the 2018 West Virginia teacher strike. The strike resulted in a pay increase for all state workers and sparked a nationwide movement. And I can hold that if you'd like to say a few words, or you can hold it as you say a few words, but please speak.
Such an honor to be here, to meet all these incredible sisters. We did form a sorority last night, my new best friend. It's incredible. And I just want to say that, this award is being presented to me, but it's for every teacher in West Virginia that stood outside at the Capitol in the snow, in the rain, for hours, that held signs, that locked arms, that sang songs, that chanted in protest. This is for Jay O'Neill. This is for Emily Comer. This is for Jessica Salvia. This is for my husband, who's teaching 4th grade right now as I speak, Justin Endicott. This is for Stephanie Endicott. This is for Robin Ellis. This is for Beth Keatley. This is for all the teachers that locked arms and said, enough is enough. This is for Oklahoma. This is for Arizona. This is for Kentucky. This is for every teacher that spends their last $20 making sure that a student has a birthday gift or has a set of books to read. As teachers, we often do not get the respect that we deserve. But through this, we decided we're taking it back. We stood in power and we stood with courage. And one of the things that I learned through this was that it does take one voice to create a spark. But once you have that spark is fanned into a flame. And when you have thousands of voices that raise their voice together, those voices cannot be silenced and they cannot be tamed. So this is for all of 55 Strong in West Virginia, because it was not one county, it was not 4 counties, it was every single county that stood together and said, enough is enough and we are worthy.
So next, can we have Deborah Swackhamer come up, please? Thank you. Actually, first, I guess this is. There you go. And I will. So, we are recognizing her strength and conviction in the face of intimidation and efforts to censor her testimony to the House Subcommittee on the Environment. Thank you very much and congratulations.
So these women are true heroes. I don't feel like much of a hero. And the reason is I did that night what anybody in my position would have done or should have done. I just kept to the truth. I was pressured by EPA to change my testimony to the House of Representatives, and of course I wasn't going to. I wasn't going to lie. I wasn't going to change the science. And for that, I felt inspired. I lived through it. The sky didn't fall. And because of that, I felt inspired to continue speaking out for the integrity of science, for the importance of science in defending the environment and public health. And also, I hope that I have empowered and inspired other scientists, young scientists especially, to continue to use your science, to bring your science to society, to make it useful, because it is the truth. Thank you.
And last, but by no means least.
Actually, second to last.
Second to last. Sorry, I was wrong. I'd like to invite Tara Parrish to the stage, please. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Please. Please. We are recognizing her leadership and advocacy in organizing efforts resulting in the passage of groundbreaking local and state immigration rights legislation. Thank you.
So I'm only up here because Gisela Collazo is a brave woman who fought to keep her family together here in Massachusetts. And my work as an organizer was to create a community of support and solidarity with Gisela and her family. I believe that every family should be able to be together, remain together. Whether it's Gisela's family or families that are separated by mass incarceration or economic policies that prevent families from putting food on the table. I'm lucky because I have the opportunity through my work to fight for families, and Gisela and so many families who are facing an unjust immigration system at a moment where we're putting children in cages. They're brave enough to fight back, and that gives me the courage to stand together with her and so many others. And I just want to also thank Emily Rodriguez for putting love first in all of this. Love is very, very powerful. Let us never underestimate how powerful love is. And of course, to my husband, Jean Paul, who came all the way from Rwanda because he loved me. So, and to Adam and to Javier and to Annalie and all of the great people of Springfield who were brave and stood by Gisela, and we won. And let's never forget to fight for families. Thanks.
And hopefully this time I won't screw up the instructions. So last we'll invite up Alex Tarzikhan, who's accepting the award on behalf of Sarah and Yusra Mardini. And can we get the orb?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We are recognizing their bravery and their personal risks that they have taken to save refugees' lives and provide humanitarian aid. And Alex is accepting on their behalf, and she's a close friend of the Mardinis and is also from Syria. And Alex was there when Sarah was arrested in Greece. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it here, so they're not here. But I don't know, Alex, if you have a few comments. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank the media, the MIT Media Lab on behalf of Sarah and Yusra, and I would like to thank the people who nominated them for this award, as well as you, Reid Hoffman, for your generosity. I honestly can't think of anyone who would be more deserving than this Disobedience Award, other than these two brave young women who have risked their safety to help those who are in need. To them, disobedience doesn't mean breaking the rules, but doing what is morally right in the face of injustice. And Yusra is doing this by changing people's perceptions of refugees and defending them throughout the world. And Sarah saved and rescued people's lives who were making the perilous journey from Turkey to Lesbos by sea. Unfortunately, Sarah can't be here today because she's still being detained by the Greek authorities for her selfless humanitarian work, which has continued even while being in prison. In fact, Sarah is trying to improve the conditions of the prison from within, and this can give you a sense of the person that she is, whose perseverance continues to amaze me and everyone that knows her every day. This past Wednesday marked 100 days since she was arrested, and her lawyers are working very hard to try and lift the detention order, but the battle is nowhere from being over. This movement of criminalizing humanitarian work is happening all throughout Europe, so it's not an isolated event. But her family and friends are extremely grateful for the outpour of support that we have all received. But we'd like to mention a few call to actions that we would like everyone here to try and contribute to. I'd like to urge you all to stand in solidarity with us and help us by raising awareness on the issue and contributing to the GoFundMe page that her family and friends have set up in order to cover some of the basic costs for her legal representation, basic costs for food, phone calls and family visits. And given the world that we're living in today, Sara and her sister, Yusra, can serve as role models to us and as reminders that we too cannot remain silent and need to use our voices in order to empower others and encourage everyone who is in this situation to speak up. And so I'd like to thank everyone again and the MIT Impact Lab on behalf of them. And I believe Yusra has a video as well.
Yes. So, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I want to say thank you so much for giving us this award. Me and my sister, we are so honored to receive it. And I just wanted to say that, after all we've been through and the trip we've done, without the help of others, I don't think we've made it. So I just want to say that we are now, because people helped us on the way and helped us building our lives again. We are now helping people, me by being a Goodwill Ambassador for UNHCR, and my sister, she was on Lesbos. She was translating from Arabic to English, English to Arabic, and she was helping kids and lots of people, lots of refugees on Lesbos. So I just want to say it's really important to help others, and we're so honored to receive this award, and I hope you're all enjoying the evening. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much. Jess, you should tell me when people should be back. We're going to take a 5-minute break, and we'll see you back here in 5 minutes for the rest of the program. Thank you, and congratulations, everybody.